I hope this three-part series has been helpful for you. And today I want to just give you a few more reasons why people won't commit to getting healthy. One, again today, is finances. Quite frankly, it's just tough. It's expensive. I alluded to this the other day. And, you know, you may not know this, but on the website, if you want to do an EMS weekend or a Harboring Hope or Hope for Healing, you can actually apply for a scholarship. So you can do that if you're financially strapped. I've seen a pretty fair amount of people actually get scholarships and get help. So if you're reading about some of these programs and you're like, man, I really want to do this, but we're just, you know, in a tough spot. And we have a saying, where there's infidelity, there's usually some kind of financial crisis as well. But don't miss the opportunity to file an application for a scholarship and at least see what happens. Number two, I hear this all the time. People say, oh, it's too soon. And then I get people say, oh, it's just been too long. No. Again, remember I started this whole series with typically in marital therapy, on average, couples wait up to 6 years before they get help. Dear God, don't wait that long. You may not even be married that much longer if you don't get help. So is it too soon to get help? No, because you can establish a protocol. You can, if we'd have gotten the right kind of help sooner, if I'd have just been able to reach out to Rick within a week or two, we could have minimized so much collateral damage. I could have shaved off so many more stupid mistakes and so much more of turning the knife in deeper that I had stuck into Samantha with my infidelity. We could have minimized so many just complete ridiculous communication patterns. We could have not ever separated. We could have not done so many things that we had done if we'd have gotten help sooner. Now, some people say, well, it's been 3, 4, 5 years. And what does that mean? You're still struggling. You're still having a difficult time. And I say this to unfaithful spouses sometimes. They say, well, it was 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, what is there left to talk about? And my comeback is, well, obviously there's something going on that's prohibiting you guys from getting on the same page. And if things were so healed, or rather, if things are so healed, what are you afraid of talking about? If there's been such a great healing, why can't you talk about this again? The truth is, there isn't this great big healing. That's why you can't talk about it before it blows up in both of y'all's faces. So if it's been so healed, you should be able to still talk about it at some level. Nobody wants to, but if you're going to get healthy, even if it's been 3, 4, 5, 7 years or so, you may still need to do something like one of the programs on the site. I mean, it's been 10 years for us, and so we read a book every few months. We'll take a week, read a chapter or two, and then come together at night on like a Thursday night, sit down and talk about the book. We did Emerson and Edgerich's Love and Respect. It was phenomenal. We're doing a book by John Gottman right now, 7 Principles. Couldn't tell you the rest. It's kind of a long title. You can go to Amazon and look under John Gottman, 7 Principles, and it'll find it for you. So far, it's fantastic. But that is not an infidelity book, nor is Love and Respect, but they are phenomenal books to do. So I'm sorry to get off on this tangent, but you've got to be willing to say, it's not about how long or how short, it's about getting help. Another reason is when the betrayed spouse is dealing with very PTSD-like symptoms. Samantha didn't have true PTSD, but she had some, call it PTSD-ish symptoms. If you were to run down the list of PTSD, she had a form of a lot of the different symptoms, and it was tough. I mean, I'll tell you from firsthand, there was some very difficult times, and it was seemingly irrational. There was just a sense of the response didn't fit the impetus, if you will. It was really kind of crazy. And she didn't have PTSD officially, but it was very close. And a lot of times there's such a unpredictability about the betrayed spouse that it may even be PTSD, but that doesn't mean that you can't get help. There's lots of spouses that come to our EMS weekend who are dealing with PTSD. Rick and John and Leslie, some of the therapists that facilitate the weekend, are experts, and they can help with PTSD, and they can help diagnose it, and they can treat it, and they can do some wonderful things to curtail it. But just because you're dealing with PTSD doesn't mean that you can't get help, and doesn't mean that you have to address the PTSD first before you address infidelity recovery. That's not true. You can do both. You really can, and quite frankly, you probably are going to have to if you're going to gain any ground in this recovery thing. Finally, couples don't want to commit to getting healthy because they're not sure what they want to do. Do they want to save their marriage, or do they want to end it? And so there's this paralysis. It's like a decision paralysis. And I tell you, you don't know what you want to do until you get the right kind of help. And you won't know what you're going to want to do until you can see your spouse get healthy. Because once you see your spouse get healthier, you start to see things differently. You may even fall back in love with your spouse. But until you get help and until you get healthy, I don't think that you can make a decision on whether or not you want to save your marriage. In fact, I'll tell you, you can't. You'll be making a terrible mistake because the way you're seeing your spouse right now might be that they're such a total mess that it's kind of like, I don't want to save my marriage. Well, that's because they're so unhealthy and so traumatized by what's gone on. Maybe after getting the right kind of help, and maybe after committing to just getting healthy, maybe after giving it 30, 60, 120 days of just committing to get healthy and not making a decision about the marriage yet, you'll actually be able to see some significant change. So I hope these reasons have helped you. I hope they've given you some good insight into what prohibits a lot of couples from getting healthy. And I hope and I pray that you don't fall prey to some of the same mistakes that so many people fall prey to every day.